And we continue our conversation about the Violence Intervention Project. How do you get the word out about your services out in the rural communities?
We have many events throughout the year. We try to participate in many community outreach events and public speaking engagements as we can to create awareness about our services.
One of the services interested me was safety planning. What is that all about?
Well, in safety planning, that element starts from the initial phone call that we receive. And that could be a response from law enforcement making that initial referral to our organization. Law enforcement completes what's called a lethality assessment screen, and that helps us to determine what areas of safety that we can assist in making sure that these needs are met.
Now, Brooke, you're big on prevention education.
Yes.
What's all involved in prevention education?
So I am the sexual assault victim advocate as well as the prevention educator for VIP. So part of my role is to go into schools and the community and offer presentations on a number of topics. So for my role, starting at the early elementary age, I would talk to kids about what are safe and unsafe touches, or teaching them how to use their protective behaviors. So how to say no to someone when they don't like a certain type of touch or a certain type of behavior, but also to teach kids that it is okay and they do have a right to say no to those things that make them feel uncomfortable. We can continue as they get older and talk about body boundaries, so boundaries with themselves as well as respecting other people's boundaries. And then that relates to talking about consent. So we talk about what is consent and how do you ask for it and how do you give consent. So with young teenagers in middle school and high school, that opens up the conversations of what is a healthy and unhealthy relationship, or what teen dating violence looks like, or what sexual harassment looks like.
Am I showing my age? This never existed when I was in school. How did this come about, that we're to this point where we have people like you coming into the schools?
Well, it's a very important role because if I think back to when I was in school, in elementary school, middle school, high school, we didn't talk about these topics. So we are very appreciative and fortunate of the schools in Kewaunee County that allow us to come in and offer these presentations to the youth. It's so important that if they realize they have a safe space and a safe person to talk to, they'll start asking questions about these topics and they'll start learning what is healthy and unhealthy, or what is unacceptable behavior and what is a right way to treat somebody. They can take those life skills that they learn from these presentations and take that with them into their jobs or college or even their relationships when they get older, like family relationships or friendships or intimate relationships with a partner.
So I guess back in the day, this was really happening, except nobody talked about it.
It was.
And now we are talking about it. You provide legal assistance. How do you go about providing a victim legal assistance?
Well, in the form of legal advocacy, what we offer is sometimes we know the criminal court process can be intimidating. So our goal is to work with individuals to ensure that victim rights are being met and to explain thoroughly the legal process in the criminal justice system. We can also provide a measure of safety in assisting with restraining order assistance.
And also you provide medical service. What do you provide in that way?
So if a victim has any medical injuries due to their victimization, we can provide medical advocacy to them. So that could be simply explaining the process to them so that they know the service is there. We can provide transportation, especially in a rural community. We can take them to the hospital for medical attention or to get a SANE exam if it was a sexual assault. And we're really a supportive person to be there throughout that whole time with them so that they don't feel alone or intimidated or unsure of the process.
This all costs money. Where are you getting it from? Is it donations? Is it grants?
The Violence Intervention Project is funded through state and federal grants.
Okay.
Although we rely on fundraisers such as the Poker Run to help us meet our additional budget needs for the year.
When you have a victim who needs to get out of a situation and they have no place to go, what do you do for them?
Well, it's based on addressing safety needs. The Kewaunee County does not have emergency shelter. So we have partnerships with surrounding shelters in Brown and Manitowoc counties that we can make referrals to. And those co-partnerships and co-advocacy is so important to agencies such as ours that are in rural communities that may not have access to all the necessary services as urban communities do.
So you may not have the place for them, but you know where.
Correct.
Where you can send them.
Correct.
You also provide support groups. How does a support group? Is it like a weekly meeting? Is it a monthly meeting? Is it how does that happen?
So all of our support groups are open and ongoing. So it's not like a closed group that ends in 6 weeks. Some of them operate every other week. Some of them it's just once a month. Some of them are during schools for the teen groups. So it really just depends. But if anyone is interested in attending any of those support groups, they can just give us a call and we can explain a little bit about when it is and how to start the first group.
Victims who are in this kind of a situation, they think that they're alone, do they not? Do they think I'm the only one going through this?
Many times.
Yeah.
Because of the isolation and the emotional abuse that they face. Those are elements of the power and control wheel. And oftentimes, the individuals that misuse power and control minimize, deny, and blame the victim for those actions. So oftentimes we'll hear, if I would have done this differently, then this wouldn't have happened. So there's a lot of that self-blame that takes place, that we educate, and again, we validate that you aren't alone and these experiences are real.
Yeah, we often hear that. The victim blames his or herself, him or herself.
Yes.
Yeah. We continue our conversation, Violence Intervention Project, right after this, so please stay with us.